Ancient Egypt, a civilization born from the mud of the Nile River, it was a kingdom of incredible ambition and cosmic vision. For 3,000 years, it stood as a beacon of human achievement. The Egyptians looked up at the stars, they saw patterns in the heavens. They measured the passage of time with stunning accuracy. They built calendars that guided their lives, telling them when the great river would flood and when to plant their crops. Their understanding of the cosmos was woven into the very fabric of their society, a testament to their curiosity and their intellect. They were astronomers, engineers, and dreamers. They gave us wonders that still defy imagination. The Great Pyramid of Giza, a mountain of stone, stands as a monument to their skill. It was built with simple tools and an extraordinary understanding of mathematics and logistics. They developed a system of writing, hieroglyphics, that was both art and language. It allowed them to record their history, their beliefs, and their laws for eternity. They mastered medicine, performing complex surgeries and documenting their knowledge on papyrus scrolls. This was a civilization that reached for the stars, even without leaving the ground. Their legacy is a story of human potential, a story written in stone and sand. The pharaohs were more than just kings. They were seen as living gods, a bridge between the mortal world and the divine. They commanded vast armies and organized immense labor forces. Their power was absolute, built on a foundation of tradition, religion, and bureaucracy. Scribes, the keepers of knowledge, were the backbone of this system. They meticulously recorded every detail of the kingdom, from the amount of grain in a storehouse to the divine proclamations of the pharaoh. This empire was, in its own way, a complex machine, powered by human ingenuity and the life-giving waters of the Nile. But what if that machine had a different kind of engine? What if, among the reeds of the Nile, another revolutionary idea took root? We often see history as a straight line, a single path from the past to our present. But the universe is full of possibilities. Countless other paths could have been taken. Imagine a slight change in that ancient world, a spark of insight, a discovery that could reshape a civilization and in turn, reshape the entire story of humanity. Let's journey back in time to that land of pharaohs and pyramids and witness the birth of a very different kind of revolution. Imagine a brilliant mind in the city of Thebes. Perhaps it was a master scribe, or an architect, or a priest obsessed with the cycles of the stars. They were tired of the limitations of the abacus. They were frustrated by the slow pace of calculating the Nile's flood patterns. This person saw something new. They looked at the intricate gears used in water clocks. They studied the complex system of levers and pulleys used to lift massive stone blocks. And in a moment of cosmic inspiration, an idea was born. A machine that could not just count, but could think with numbers. A device that could follow instructions. This wasn't a computer of silicon and plastic, like the ones we know today. It would have been a magnificent creation of wood, bronze, and polished stone. Imagine a large, room-sized contraption. It would be filled with thousands of carefully carved wooden gears. Small, polished stones would click and slide along grooved tracks, representing numbers. Power might come from a controlled flow of water, or perhaps the steady pull of weighted ropes. The ancient Egyptians were masters of mechanical engineering. Building this papyrus engine would have been a challenge, but not an impossible one. It would be a mechanical brain, clicking and whirring in a temple dedicated to Thoth, the god of wisdom. The first programs wouldn't be written in code as we know it. They would be physical. Imagine large, flat wooden boards with holes drilled into them, much like an early punch card. By placing pegs into different holes, a scribe could set a series of instructions for the machine. Calculate the trajectory of a star. Determine the exact amount of grain needed for 1,000 workers. Predict the next lunar eclipse. Each calculation would be a slow, rhythmic, mechanical dance. The clatter of this machine would be the new sound of progress, a symphony of logic echoing through the halls of power. This new technology would be a closely guarded secret at first. It would belong to the pharaoh and his highest priests. It would be seen as a divine gift, a tool to speak the language of the gods. The ability to predict the future, even just the future of the river or the stars, was a source of immense power. This machine would not just be a calculator, it would be an oracle. It would solidify the pharaoh's connection to the divine, making his rule seem not just inherited, but divinely intelligent. The Papyrus Engine would be the new heart of the Egyptian empire, beating with a rhythm of pure mathematics. The Papyrus Engine would be the start, the central processing unit of an entire technological ecosystem. Soon, smaller, more specialized devices would appear. Imagine scribes carrying portable calculators. These would not fit in a pocket, of course. They might be intricate wooden boxes, about the size of a loaf of bread, filled with smaller gears and dials. A scribe could use this device in the field to quickly calculate taxes on a farmer's harvest, or measure the precise dimensions of a building block. This would make the bureaucracy of the empire faster, more efficient, and more accurate than ever before. Then comes the network. The Egyptians were brilliant communicators, using messengers on foot and by boat. But with the advent of computing, they would need a faster way to share data. Perhaps they would develop a system of light signals. Tall towers built along the Nile could flash coded messages from one city to the next using polished bronze mirrors and the bright Egyptian sun. A complex calculation performed in Thebes could be transmitted to a garrison in Nubia in a matter of hours, not weeks. This Nile net would be the world's first long-distance information network, a nervous system for the entire kingdom. And what about software? The programs for the Papyrus Engine would evolve. Instead of just wooden boards with pegs, they might develop a system of interlocking clay tablets. Each tablet would represent a different command or a set of data. A priest programmer could assemble these tablets in a specific sequence to create a complex set of instructions. Libraries would emerge that didn't just store scrolls of text, but also house collections of these tablet programs. There would be programs for astronomy, for engineering, for logistics, and even for composing music based on mathematical principles. This would be the birth of software, written in clay and logic. The interface for these machines would be beautiful and symbolic, as was everything in Egypt. Dials might be adorned with images of the gods. Levers could be shaped like ants or scarab beetles. The output wouldn't be on a screen, but perhaps printed onto a fresh sheet of papyrus using a series of automated styluses dipped in ink. The results of a calculation would appear as perfect machine-written hieroglyphs. This technology would not look sterile or industrial. It would be integrated into the rich artistic and religious tapestry of Egyptian culture, a seamless blend of the divine and the digital. For the pharaoh, this new technology would be the ultimate tool of control. He could now manage his kingdom with unparalleled precision. The Papyrus Engine could analyze census data from across the empire, identifying regions of potential unrest or predicting future tax revenues with frightening accuracy. He could deploy troops and resources based not on guesswork, but on cold, hard data. Every citizen's life, from their birth to their occupation to their tax contributions, could be recorded and tracked in a central database, a vast library of interconnected papyrus scrolls or clay tablets. The pharaoh's gaze would be, in a sense, everywhere at once. The priestly class would see their power grow immensely. They would be the keepers of this new divine knowledge, the programmers and operators of the papyrus engines. Temples would transform into data centers, where priests would perform complex calculations to set the religious calendar, interpret omens, and advise the pharaoh. They could create sophisticated models of the afterlife, calculating the offerings needed for a soul's successful journey. Religion would become more technical, more mathematical. The priests would not just be conduits to the gods, they would be the system administrators of the divine. Their authority would be nearly unchallengeable. But what about the common worker? A farmer in a small village would feel the effects indirectly at first. A tax collector might arrive with a small mechanical calculator, determining his debt to the state with swift, impersonal precision. A foreman on a construction site might use a similar device to assign tasks and track progress. The work would become more efficient, but also more regimented. The state's ability to monitor and manage its labor force would be absolute. The lives of ordinary Egyptians would be broken down into numbers and data points, cogs in the great machine of the empire. This technology would also create a new social class. Below the priests and scribes, a group of technicians and mechanics would be needed to build and maintain these complex machines. These skilled artisans would be highly valued for their knowledge of gears, levers, and mechanisms. They would form new guilds, passing their secrets from master to apprentice. This would create a new dynamic in Egyptian society, a middle class of technical experts who were neither laborers nor scribes, but something entirely new. Society would become more complex, more stratified, and more dependent on this revolutionary technology. The construction of the pyramids was already a marvel of engineering. But with computers, it would become a symphony of precision. Architects could use the Papyrus Engine to create flawless three-dimensional models of their designs. They could calculate the exact size and shape of every single stone block before it was even quarried. They could simulate the stresses on the internal chambers and passages, ensuring the structure's stability for millions of years. The process would be faster, safer, and would allow for even more ambitious and complex architectural designs. Perhaps pyramids would become even larger, or take on new, previously impossible shapes. Record-keeping would be completely transformed. The Great Library of Alexandria, in this alternate timeline, would be more than just a collection of scrolls. It would be a massive data archive. Scribes would use keyboard-like devices with hieroglyphic keys to input information. Instead of just copying texts, they would be digitizing them. Every royal decree, every legal judgment, every merchant contract could be stored, indexed, and cross-referenced. A scholar could ask the library's engine to find every mention of the Hittite Empire in all known texts, and the machine would mechanically retrieve the relevant scrolls or tablets. Knowledge would become searchable, a revolutionary concept. Trade would flourish under this new system. A merchant in Thebes could use the Nile net to check market prices in the distant port of Avaris. They could place orders and arrange shipments with incredible speed. The state could use its computing power to manage the entire economy. It could track the flow of goods, set standardized prices, and predict shortages or surpluses. This would lead to a more stable and prosperous economy, but also one that was tightly controlled by the central government. The pharaoh's economic power would extend to every marketplace and every transaction in his dominion. Furthermore, the very act of writing could change. While hieroglyphics would still be used for monumental inscriptions, a more efficient script might be developed for data entry, a kind of hieroglyphic shorthand, optimized for speed and clarity on the new input devices. This Coptic code could become the language of science, commerce, and government. The traditional beautiful hieroglyphs would be reserved for religious and ceremonial purposes, while this new functional script would be the language of daily progress. The world of the scribe would be split in two, the artist and the data processor. The spread of information would have a profound effect on Egyptian society. At first, this knowledge would be jealously guarded by the elite. Only the priests and the highest echelons of the scribal schools would be taught the hieroglyphic code, the language of programming the papyrus engines. This secret knowledge would be a powerful tool to maintain the social order. The ability to operate the machines would be a symbol of status and power, separating the ruling class from the masses more effectively than any wall. This digital divide would be the new foundation of the social pyramid. However, knowledge has a way of leaking out. Ambitious technicians, lower-ranking scribes, or even curious merchants might begin to piece together the secrets of the machines. Underground schools could emerge, teaching the basics of mechanical computation away from the watchful eyes of the temple priests. A black market for smaller calculating devices or copied tablet programs could develop. This would create a tension in society, a struggle between the state's desire for control and the natural human thirst for knowledge. The spread of information, even in this mechanical form, would be a democratizing force. Education would need to evolve. While traditional scribal schools would continue to teach calligraphy and literature, new technical academies would have to be established. These schools would train the next generation of engineers, programmers, and maintenance technicians. The curriculum would include mathematics, logic, mechanics, and the principles of the papyrus engine. This would create a more educated populace, at least in the technical fields. A person's value to the state might be measured not just by their literacy, but by their techno-literacy. This new form of knowledge could also challenge the existing social order. If a farmer's son shows a remarkable aptitude for mechanics, could he rise to become a respected engineer? If a merchant's daughter can program a tablet to optimize trade routes, does she gain a new level of influence? The technology could create new pathways for social mobility, disrupting the rigid class structure that had defined Egypt for centuries. The pharaoh and the priests would have to constantly adapt to keep control, managing not just the flow of grain and gold, but the far more volatile flow of information. An Egypt armed with computation would be an unstoppable force in the ancient world. Its military would be unmatched. Generals could use computers to plan complex strategies, manage supply lines with perfect efficiency, and coordinate troop movements across vast distances using the Nile net. Egyptian siege engines designed with the help of mechanical calculators would be more powerful and accurate than any others. The empire would likely expand, its borders pushing further into Nubia, Libya, and the Levant. The pharaoh's dominion would be built on a foundation of superior information. This technology would inevitably spread, whether through trade, conquest, or espionage. Imagine Greek scholars visiting the Library of Alexandria and witnessing the Papyrus Engine in action. Minds like Pythagoras or Archimedes would be electrified. They would not just see a tool for counting, they would see a machine for understanding the cosmos. They would take these ideas back to Greece, sparking a computational renaissance. The Greeks, with their love of philosophy and abstract thought, might focus on developing the software side, creating formal languages of logic for these machines. The Romans, always the practical engineers, would see the military and administrative potential. They would adopt and mass-produce this technology. Roman legions would march with portable calculating devices. Roman governors would use computational engines to manage their vast provinces. They would build their own networks of signal towers, the Roman net, crisscrossing Europe. The phrase "all roads lead to Rome" would take on a new meaning. All data would lead to Rome, too. The Roman Empire would be even more organized, more powerful, and perhaps last for centuries longer. The spread of this technology would accelerate the development of other civilizations. The knowledge would travel along the Silk Road to Persia, India, and China. Each culture would adapt the technology to its own needs. The Chinese, with their sophisticated bureaucracy, might create vast databases for managing their population. Indian mathematicians could use the machines to explore new frontiers of number theory. The world would enter an age of information 2,000 years ahead of schedule. The global landscape of power and knowledge would be completely redrawn. If this computational revolution had happened in ancient Egypt, our modern world would be unrecognizable. The Industrial Revolution might have occurred in the time of the Roman Empire. Instead of steam engines, it might have been powered by complex mechanical engines, driven by water or wind. Cities would have grown larger, faster. Society would have had to grapple with the social changes of industrialization and information technology simultaneously. The entire timeline of human progress would be compressed, with centuries of development happening in a fraction of the time. Science and philosophy would have taken a different path. With powerful tools for calculation available early on, thinkers like Galileo and Newton would have had a much higher starting point. They could have confirmed their theories with powerful simulations. The secrets of the solar system, of gravity, of the very nature of matter, might have been unlocked much earlier. We might have reached for the moon not in the 20th century, but in the 10th. Our understanding of the universe would be built on a foundation that was 2 millennia older and far more advanced. The very structure of our societies would be different. The concepts of democracy, privacy, and individual rights would have evolved alongside powerful tools of state surveillance. The struggle between freedom and control would have been a central theme of history for thousands of years. Would we have developed stronger protections for individual liberty, or would we live in a world of total, technologically enforced order? A digital reflection of the pharaoh's absolute power. The great philosophical debates of our time would have been ancient history. Our technology today would be alien to us. Imagine a world that never developed the vacuum tube or the silicon transistor. It might have continued down the path of mechanical or fluid-based computation. Our computers might be intricate, beautiful machines of clockwork and crystal, running on water or air pressure, or perhaps the early discovery of logic and computation would have led to a faster discovery of quantum mechanics, leading to a world of quantum computers that bypass the silicon age entirely. Our digital world might be quieter, more elegant, or infinitely more strange. This journey into an alternate past is more than just a fantasy. It's a thought experiment about the nature of discovery itself. It shows how a single spark of innovation can set the river of time flowing in a completely new direction. The ancient Egyptians had the intellectual ingredients. They had the mathematics, the engineering skill, and the organizational power. They were just 1 or 2 conceptual leaps away from making this alternate history a reality. The universe of possibilities is always wider than we imagine. What other great discoveries were just barely missed by the great minds of the past? Thinking about a computational Egypt reminds us that our own path to the present was not inevitable. Our modern world is built upon a specific sequence of discoveries. Change one of them, or even just change the timing, and the entire structure looks different. It gives us a deeper appreciation for the moments of genius in our own history. The invention of the printing press, the discovery of electricity, the creation of the microprocessor. These weren't just technical achievements, they were pivotal moments that shaped the course of our space-time Odyssey. It also serves as a cautionary tale. The story of the Papyrus Engine is a story of power. Technology, from a simple lever to a supercomputer, is always a tool of power. It can be used to build pyramids or to build prisons. It can be used to enlighten or to control. The pharaohs would have used it to strengthen their rule, to monitor their people, and to expand their empire. As we stand in our own digital age, we face the same questions. How do we use our incredible computational power? Do we use it to connect people or to divide them, to empower individuals or to concentrate power in the hands of a few? Ultimately, this glimpse into a fictional past holds up a mirror to our own present. We are the inheritors of a long and winding history of innovation. We live in an age that the ancient Egyptians could only have seen as divine, but the choices we make today, the way we use our technology, the questions we dare to ask, these are the things that will shape the future. Every civilization is on its own voyage through space-time. The story of what we become is a story that we are writing, one line of code, one act of discovery, one crucial choice at a time.